How's it going, Humble Hands community? Robert here, and today we're talking about brake wear sensors. So what is a brake wear sensor? You've got a pad, you've got a rotor, and you've got a wire that's connected to a sensor. Now that sensor is really just one long wire from the computer coming back and looping around. So I've got one right here, and this little connector right here is a little fragile. If it ever breaks, it's kind of hard to repair that kind of thing, but I'm going to show you something here, what a brake wear sensor is, how to kind of get around that. So what is continuity? Let's show you real quick. It's my multimeter right here. I'm going to set it to continuity. Continuity will let us know when something is connected. So as long as we have a connection, we're going to have that little sound, everything's going to be good. Over here we got a wire, continuous, this is coming from the computer, and this is coming from the computer. Continuity. But if this brake pad wears and wears and wears like it's supposed to, and finally makes contact with the rotor, and then it breaks. Once it breaks, we don't have continuity anymore. That's what the brake wear sensor is trying to tell us. It's trying to tell us that the brake pad has worn to an amount that now it's time to change it. It has exceeded its serviceable life. It is a consumable item. We did this on we checked one of these out on a BMW, actually cut it apart and did all that stuff, and it was really cool to kind of figure it out and figure out how they make them work. It got it down to about 2 millimeters of brake pad, which is just about exactly where you want to be before you change your brake pads. Any farther than that, we have a chance of damaging the rotor.
Okay, if you look back here, you're gonna see a little wire right there, and what that is this little guy. So this is the brake wear sensor, and what it does is it goes in the back of your brake pad, and see that little hole right there? Clips in right here and then goes in that hole. And as your brake wears and it gets closer to that hole, this little piece is basically just a wire that returns a signal. But when it wears enough, it cuts into this wire, and then the signal has failed. Once that happens, it lets you know that your brake pads have hit that much distance of wear. This is a brand new one here in a bag, and as you can see, it's got rubber, it's got a plastic coating all the way around it, and so that is actually eaten away before it ever makes the true contact. So it gets really, really close to the end, and it's honestly really good. This one is where the last brake pad stopped. That's pretty much 2 millimeters of depth left, and that's exactly kind of where you want to be whenever you're replacing your brakes. So this is really cool. I've never actually taken one apart, and that's kind of how it looks like today.
Very important, especially for your safety, is to make sure that your brakes are changed on time. We don't want to cut the rotor. We don't want to dig into the rotor, because then we can't really resurface it, and then we lose the rotor. I'm a recycle guy. I want to resurface rotors. Yes, it's easier to replace them, but I love my planet, and we're not going to do that. So, if this sensor is good, the brake pads are fine, and something like this little plastic connector here broke, or you were trying to put it in and it snapped, what can you do? You can essentially, because it is a continuous wire that just comes in and out and goes to whatever unit, ABS unit or ECU, PCM, whichever it's connected to, but it's just essentially one continuous wire. So all we have to do is cut this connector here, take those two wires, make them so you can see them a little bit, and on the other side there's a receiving end, and we'll cut the wire right here, and then we'll get some butt connectors and connect them. Now I like to use, in any situation honestly, weatherproof butt connectors. They're a little bit more expensive, but they shrink wrap around the wire itself. They're not going to let any water, they're not going to let any dirt, they're not going to let any dust, and they're going to hold a little bit longer than most. It is important to change out your brake pads once they get to a certain point, because as the brake pad wears, your stopping distance starts to increase. So as these guys go away, it's not able to do its job as efficiently, and especially when we're driving at higher speeds, or there's rain, or anything like that, or our tires are not good. Everything in that is going to affect our distance it takes to stop. So these are really cool, but you can get around it if this seems to be an issue for you. I made this video because I have a friend that had this issue, and they're going to try to do it themselves, and that is completely fine. I've gone ahead and mocked up this as if I was going to repair a wire. We've got our butt connector fit to size of the wire that we're going to repair here. We're going to go ahead and put that in there, crimp it, and honestly, there's a yellow, red, and blue on that one. Just give her a little squeeze. All right. And then we're going to connect it to the other side. All right. Now that that's connected, this is a weatherproof one, which means it has shrink wrap around it. In order to seal that up, you can use a heat gun, and you'll just heat that up a little bit, and that shrink will actually shrink around that wire. It's really kind of cool. Makes it protect from all the weathers and all the bad stuff outside as you're driving, especially because this is underneath the car by the wheel. But for entertainment purposes only, I am going to use this blowtorch, because why not? You can also use a lighter. A lot of people do use the lighter. Just a little bit of fire, like if it was a lighter. We're just going to heat that up. And we should see a little bit of shrinkage all the way around. You'll see actually the color change a little bit as it wraps around the wire. And that is it. So there you have it, Humble Hands community. How to fix a wire with butt connectors that are weatherproof. What is a brake wear sensor? And if you're in a pinch, how to repair a wire. Thank you very much for joining us here on our newest edition of Knowledge Bomb. Thank you for joining. Stay humble.